You have three videos of Sigma in the first part. What do you want to review? Sigma Elios, Watchpoint, or
Probably
was it?
the shortest one, probably not the shortest one, the one that has more gameplay, the Ilios one, please.
Okay, let's do the Elios one. Let's go. All right, I'll just start the queue session. So, how's your gameplay been recently?
As a whole or with Sigma?
With Sigma specifically.
Specifically, so the three videos I did were literally the day after you told me to look more into double meta. So I've watched more videos since then. So this is just literally me looking at one video and then playing, and trying to get my understanding with it. I think in the double barrier, I know how to play him. Well, sorry, I'm more competent with him. But when he's just by himself, I find it more difficult playing him as a main tank versus a an off tank with a Larissa to follow.
Yeah, you feel like he's more efficient as an off tank, right?
Yeah, I think he feels very restricted when he's playing anything else beside an off tank.
That makes sense. Yeah. Okay, that's definitely viable. How would you say it? That's okay to think because yeah, I have played him as a main tank before and I have felt restrictions. He does have some things you can do with him, but it relies a lot on team play. But
Mm.
okay, so I already posted the session, the link session, so I'm just waiting for you right now.
It just says sync in the video.
Yep.
And I got it. All good.
All right, that's awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna like push this a bit forward. So now our objective with Sigma is to kind of like see how you fare with him as an off tank. Let's see if you got the basics down. See what you got so far. So your brother tank is gonna go on Wrecking Ball. Here, just going for a main. Okay. I'm gonna say this isn't really a lot of ground you're kind of going for. However, you kind of don't have a better choice. Honestly, being able to have more ground would be very cool because then you would be able to enable your teammates to have your you would enable your teammates to have more options.
Mm.
But being that since you're a Sigma and you have being that you're a Sigma and most of your DPS seems to be long range, as I can tell from these two DPS. It is okay to play over here since what you call it. It's okay to play over here for a little bit since right now you're depending on Wrecking Ball to create some chaos in the back, or like at least grab some attention so it allows you to press a bit forward. One big problem you're definitely gonna face over here is the Reinhardt, because all he's gonna need to do is just basically shield.
Mm.
Um, so kind of like basic. So kind of right now, based on how efficient you can be, will depend on how badly. Will depend on like how well you can either like pass the Reinhardt or how badly he defends you. So since you'll be efficient on trying to shoot people and trying to gain your ultimate charge, you're gonna definitely want to hit targets like these. So if every time Reinhardt's not shielded, that's like your opportunity to get some damage in. Uh, and then when Reinhardt also decides to swing on you, you can like also do some damage on him. Let's see. I would say this is an okay point over here, but I believe there could be a better one. Because this choke right here, you're just controlling this choke. You're just basically giving people, like whoever's right next to you, you're basically giving them a sight line to shoot from here. You're giving yourself a sight line to shoot from here only.
Mm.
This is all you can grab. So I believe a definite improvement you should start making when you position is try to find a bit more wider sight lines so you can grab efficiency. Of course, grabbing wider sight lines, like, okay, I'll tell you the plus sides about this before I go into the next position. But the plus sides about this is that you can actually isolate your enemies, so you're facing a very few less.
Mm.
But however, that positive doesn't come every time because that the positive of isolating enemies and only seeing a few doesn't really work well when you're dealing with a choke. And right now, this is a choke because this area usually becomes a choke because a lot of enemies positioned here. Um, But yeah, so since you won't be getting that sort of advantage, and that advantage won't really be beneficial since it's not really gonna like help with anything, you're not looking to pick anybody off. You're looking for efficiency as main tank right now. You want to look for effectiveness. You want to be more prominent, more you want to be more prominent on the battlefield. You want to be more noticeable, more threatening.
So what
So
should be the other option then?
having bigger sight lines of the battlefield. The only time you should start basically worrying about what you call it, about worrying about where you place a shield and not positioning out in the open is if they have maybe long range threats
Right.
that can like control certain sight lines and threaten you from afar. Um, and I think also yeah, that's actually the main what you call it. That's the main threatening factor. Is basically dealing with snipers because if you do expose yourself too much, when you recall your barrier, you're just like taken out like that. So yeah. But yeah, since you don't seem to be dealing with any sort of threat like that right now, you should definitely if the enemy doesn't seem to have any sort of long range threat, what you call it, and you start noticing that as the fight progresses on, or at least when you press tab and you see they have no Hanzo Widow or okay, maybe Pharah kind of counts, but you can block Pharah more easier. But let's see, what's another long range threat?
Ash.
Just really hard. Yeah, Ash, and then maybe like a soldier or
Mm.
McCree. So like, but those well, actually, soldier and McCree are more medium range threats than long range. But yeah, Ash is definitely a long range. So yeah, basically, if they have like hit scan like that, if they start having like maybe one or two long range DPS, then yes, of course, playing more in the sight lines and trying to create a presence so that way their DPS can be less efficient
Mm.
is more preferable.
Okay.
So, since I don't see any of that right now, now that we covered that, look at this team fight. You can be so much more efficient. You can give your friends and yourself so much more sight lines and even like make this guy's shield useless if you were to put your shield here. Because look at that. This is why you need to position your shield more out in the open if you don't see any sort of long range hit scan. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Look at that. This Ryan is actually going to be useful because look at that, he's shielding that area. Your teammates are over there, but now that you put your shield over here, this is much better. Look at that. It's much more difficult for the Reinhardt to block. And look how much more efficient you are. See? Look at it. You're about to get yourself 2 kills. So yeah, things you should make to your gameplay and change. Um, if you can, always look for more sightlines, more wider sightlines. You have a shield, you're a Sigma, and then if you start seeing they have like DPS that can threaten you and your shield is low, then you should probably back up into cover and retreat. So and then find a more safer sightline. So that way you don't risk as much from that sniper.
Okay.
Okay?
So if there's no
Yeah.
long range DPS threats, have
If
Sigma
yeah, if you don't
play.
feel threatened, yeah, if you don't feel, and even if you don't feel threatened by those long range DPS threats, it's completely fine. Have the confidence, go out and get some work done because
Okay.
you saw how like the difference in those two positions were, how you were much more efficient when you went on when you basically like look for more sight lines and you were and even high ground too. You were able to even surpass the Rhine barrier.
Uh huh.
This is also another reason why that Rhine is shit
Uh huh.
because Rhine just got immediately mitigated like that just from you taking high ground. That's
Right.
how bad he is.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So now that you're on defense, this is important basic to know or fundamental actually. And that's to usually play medium range with Sigma because Sigma is not really a close range character, nor is he long range, but he's actually he is actually excellent at medium range.
Mm.
So I'm gonna be paying attention to how well you maintain the mediumness of your position between the or mediumness of the distance between you and the enemy
Right.
as well as still keeping a nice presence, making sure you keep it high ground, maybe pass that Ryan shield a bit too. So yeah, this is a pretty good positioning. This is efficiency. Got to get that ultimate. Always make sure you're cautious. Don't want to accidentally get flanked behind or CC'd or pushed into them because that's just like it's stupid. Okay, good job. I like this right here. So you're maintaining the medium distance very well. This is very good. Your shield is at half, so since your shield can immediately melt at any time, I would definitely retreat here. Do you retreat here? Like, yeah. Yeah, good job. Okay. Oh, well, you kind of put your shield out, and then I'm guessing you recall your shield here. Okay, that was a very, very risky part, right? That was a very risky play we did right here. This is just something that was just very sketchy. Can I not? Can I please use my hold on, sorry.
Nice.
This position right over here. So this rotation over here was very sketchy because this could have been punished. If the Reinhardt and the Zarya had been right around this corner, they could just easily push you and kill you. So you definitely are not aware of this fundamental. You're definitely not aware of the type where you need to make sure you keep or you keep medium distance between you and the you and the enemy.
My thought process here was based off a tip about Sigma creating off angles and flank angles, and the reason why I went around this way is I assumed the tanks would still be waiting there, and that's why I rotated around to try and catch him off. But then the Ryan pushed, and I was in a weird rotation because of it. So should
Yeah, so
I go on?
even that decision alone actually sounds weird because you're basically basing it off that they're just gonna stay over there, you know?
Mm,
Like you taken into account what if they're not over there? What if they decided to push up like even like the Ryan like you said the Ryan just did? So apparently you haven't considered those options before rotating to here.
mm,
So definitely you should start considering that. You need to consider your enemy's options and not just think what one thing they might do, but consider the alternate options they might do, and then know how you can immediately from experience know how you can counter that. Like how would you counter something like that? What kind of position would you take so that way you're prepared for all kinds of options as well? You know?
So as a thought process with that in mind, what could I have done in that situation? Because to me, with that in my head, I would think about backing off even more around the pillar that's on the point. So that way, if they do decide to flank me on the right hand side, I'm safe because I've got that pillar to play around with. But at the same time, I can
Yeah.
still create an off angle by shooting them into that choke. Is that the right play?
Yeah. That's well, that's okay. Here's what you want to mainly be thinking about. It might actually lead to the same. It might lead to that decision specifically, depending on the circumstances.
Mm,
But the circumstances you want to truly think about is making sure that you maintain your medium range and that you got your healers beside you, and that if you're going to be playing in a position where you can get flanked, at least have an ability that can get you out of it. Like for example, your shift ability, your what was it called besides suck?
kinetic grasp.
Yeah, the grasp. So make sure you have your grasp on you before if you just in case you get flanked, you know? Like I said, the main thing here is to make sure you're prepared for all kinds of options and alternate or as much options and as much alternate routes as you can possibly think of
Mm,
or you can prepare for. Like cuz you can think of all the options that the enemy might do, but you will realize that you won't be able to prepare for all of them. So just like being able to prepare for what you can is important too. You
okay.
know, do what you can. You're still not you're not that powerful. Still, it's a character you have limits. But yeah. So definitely right over here, you do lack the base. You do lack the important fundamental of thinking about what the enemy can do, and because you didn't think about the enemy pushing up, you just allowed them to push up right here
Mm,
without
for free almost.
yeah, without being able to punish them for it. I mean, of course, what they kind of did was still punishable, but like punishing them immediately for their stupid actions, you know.
Mm,
I guess maybe it's just kind of funny though that the way how this Ryan decided to go about it, but yeah, you can start seeing how much more scary it. You just notice how much more scarier that was
mm,
when Zarya was able to close distance between you and her, and she was able to start getting good damage on you.
mm.
That's why you want to maintain your medium range because you could have still shot that Zarya, but she would have been able to do damage to you. And look at that, you're much more efficient in this range. Wow, I'm actually seeing this in Diamond. I'll be honest, I have not watched any Diamond VODs of Sigma, so seeing this type of fundamental applied, not even though if it's not completely intentional, seeing this applied in Sigma gameplay really shows that he is a medium range character. Look at that. You can be so effective at this range. And oh my god, you can even like if you were to get close into a Ryan, I've seen Grandmaster Sigmas like flank Reinhardt shields. I've seen their ballsy plays. I mean, I guess you're still kind of like working on your brawling skills, but I guess if you like had better brawling skills, you would have definitely have been able to kill that Ryan much more quicker.
Just quickly before the next part happens here, I have, for some reason, well, I've looked at a tip now about it, but I find it so difficult for some reason in my head to use Sigma properly. Like I either get nothing with it, or I get one person. It's never like a big one. The only tip I've gotten so far with Sigma is one, try and almost not go into the air with it because you're gonna get deleted pretty much because you spend too much time in
Hmm.
the air. And secondly, with his grass, you kind of want to aim the center of the ult on one target to almost guarantee you're gonna catch that target versus trying to hit three in a wide area because they're more likely to just walk away. So in this gameplay, you'll see how unsure I am about Sigma's ult.
Okay then. So then okay, I was thinking of saving this maybe for the next vlog, but I think this is the perfect time to use it to basically teach you about this next thing that we're talking about. So this is an observation not tactic. This is an observation basic or topic that we're going to talk about. So when you basically observe something, it's important to have an objective about what you're looking at. And the usual objective when you're basically just starting out on learning about anything is what affects what and what conditions are needed to fill. So like if this then that. Do you know what I just said?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean right there? Yeah. So basically you need to know how to make your ultimate successful. If blank this, then you basically get three enemies like that.
Hmm.
So let's find out what that blank is. And then if that blank is not and if what blank basically blank this, you fail on your ultimate. Oh, that was actually pretty good.
That was an accident, by the way. If you go back to it, you'll see how actually the cursor was on the Zara and there's some reason it flicked. Well, not for some reason, but it just shot forward and towards that choke, and I just so happened to catch the Mercy. So it looked like a good up, but that was purely accidental. What happened?
Okay. And actually, I'll be honest, that did look intentional and that looked really nice. But
It
since
was,
you did say that,
yeah.
let's just say now that we know what the if is, now that we fulfilled that blank of what the if makes this a good ultimate, now we know what you now let's see why. So first off, you managed to catch two people. What was the two people that were doing? What were they doing? You caught a Mercy, you caught a Zarya. They were retreating into a small choke point that forced them to group together. So now we know that if that people usually group together when they're trying to retreat through a tight space,
Mm.
or and we now know that basically if they're going a certain way, they can usually run into the ultimate because they're occupied with doing something. If you hit someone while they're occupied with doing something, it will either one force them to stop what they're doing and get them killed a different way, or two, force them to basically really use their bigger oh shit ability, and for some and you and force them to use their bigger shit ability, which is the more valuable ability, so that way they can somehow get out of there. Or three, option three, and this is what happened to them: continue retreating, continue with what they were doing, and just get caught by the ultimate, like laying a trap. It's basically the I forgot what this is called. I have no name for it, and I haven't learned on internet before. I just only saw it through observation. But it's basically where it's a type of trap where you put the enemy in a situation where they are occupied doing something, and then you hit them, and then you like fork another response. You fork them with another what should we call it? Another threat,
Okay.
and then now they have to choose between which of these threats to get killed by because they can't defend both. They can't like survive both of them.
Or like a rock and a hard place kind of idea.
Yeah, just like the Mercy right there. She was getting chased down by the ball, and then you basically had the ultimate at the back of her feet. She didn't know she had no options, and she had no option to basically get out of there really easily,
Mm.
and she died. So yeah. So we basically know that. So we basically know that when's a good time to shoot your ultimate is if the enemy is retreating through a small point or going through a small point. So all the enemy has to is go through a small point if you want to get a nice good clumped ultimate. So now we know how we got one part to how to make your ultimate good is how to get them clumped, right?
So retreating into a choke is one, and what were the other
Well,
conditions?
going through a tight space in
Tight
general,
space. Okay.
because they can go forward and you can still ult them
Mm.
if they're all clumped up. They're not retreating, but they're pushing, and you can like ult them, and then you get them. A second thing to also have, something that I already know, is usually try to draw out the enemy's more defensive abilities, like bubble,
Yeah.
especially when playing against Zarya. Draw out that bubble and take out, and then like take out that take out the bubbles and then ult to Sigma, so they have less defensive abilities. And if you're gonna force maybe any sort of defensive ability, like say for instance, if the Lucio, say for instance, you're forced out like Lucio's sound barrier, then yeah, that can be a good idea. If he save if he what you may call it, if you have another ultimate that's also going to require sound barrier. Like I said, forking abilities put your enemy in a trap where they either have to choose between getting killed by one thing or the other thing.
Mm.
Cool, yeah.
Okay.
So you hit the Zarya, make sure you maintain that medium range. You seem to do it, which we call it automatically, so that's pretty good right there. I guess now instead of focusing on how much you do it, on how much you keep maintain that medium range, I'm mainly going to be looking for different things of like, okay, when's the times you don't maintain your medium range and why, and then also uh and then we'll be looking at other things like maybe your ultimate uses, because you said you're not that good at your ultimate.
Because one thing I've taken to mind when playing Sigma is when you said to me that he's a kiting character. So what I try and do is like you said, maintain the medium distance for as long as I can, and kind of
Yeah,
stay in that range where the his primary fire explodes at that distance roundabout.
yeah. I'm guessing that ability was a panic button.
Well, my grasp, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I said that completely wrong. I'm guessing that panic ability. I'm guessing that grasp ability was a panic. Huh. Not bad.
Like the things just for you to notice what I've made notes of, not in this particular game, but I understand that one of the main things from the chrono guy was saying about his shield management was allow yourself to almost take chip damage in the sense of to preserve your shields in the same way you would do for a Rhine shield. Like you don't use your shield unless you have to use your shield to block like proper
Yeah,
damage coming in or a
yeah,
CC ability. But like if I'm standing
yeah,
out in the choke for free, I might as well just not use my shield because the damage that my shield be taking would be healed up anyway by my healers.
exactly. Actually, how well do you know about that subject? Do you basically know it to that extent, to the point that you know how to apply it and where you apply it?
I guess the same ways that I would use for Ryan. Like if it's let's say Lucio spamming or soldier, not maybe not soldier, but like a useless spam. So like a Zarya primary or whatever it is before the fight starts, and I just play cool whatever. I just do my shield recalled
Mm-hmm.
in, and then when they look like they're going to engage, then I put my shield up.
Yeah, that's definitely, yeah. That's pretty much it. All right. Did you know about that? Did you know about that rule
I
before
can't
going into
remember.
this
No,
game?
no, 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 I didn't. No, but I think I might have just been subconsciously doing it anyway because that's how I play Ryan or Orisa or whoever.
Okay, yeah. It's good that you learned that though. Have you been applying it though?
I have been in recent games, but I'm not
Has
for
it
sure
improved
in
your
this game.
gameplay?
I feel like it has. But then,
Do you feel like you were able to save more shield for more important moments? Like your shield just felt more abundant.
overall, yes, I do know I have felt sometimes my shield was nearly breaking, but again, I would need to look at more recent games for me to see if I have been applying it in situations where I could have been better at shield management. Because one thing I do
Yeah.
find right now is just it's more of a habit thing, but sometimes I leave my shield out for too long, where it doesn't need to
Uh-huh.
be there, because I just forget about it.
Yeah, that happens. It's not. It takes time to like and get better at managing your shield than always recalling it when you don't need it. That's like work it thing to work on. All right, let's take a look at this. Oh, what is this shield? What is? Why are you giving yourself such a small sight line? Like, just because you can fire through here, this is you can only fire through here. Do you know what's wrong with that?
I can only see
I
the
just said
front,
it.
and I can't necessarily fire to the left hand side.
Yeah, pretty much. You can't see more, right?
It's like Orissa's shield, where if the angle's too small, I'm only restricted to the angle that the shield allows.
Yep.
Yeah.
Same. The good thing about Sigma is that you can immediately reposition.
Mm.
I hope you immediately reposition. Okay, you do. Okay, so you kind of do reposition because reposition is something that quite common. But yeah, you should never
It's too slow.
position your Sigma shield to restrict your to be very restrictive. You want your Sigma shield to enable your ability to shoot things more.
Mm.
It should look like this Arista shield right here. It should look like, hey, I can go out and shoot. I can go out more further and shoot
Ah, of
things.
course. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, understood. I think one thing I had that I just thought about it now would be Sigma's shield because of how fast it goes forward. It can really open up how far forward I can go, so I don't necessarily need to play around corners as much, I suppose.
Mhm. But you still should play around
Yeah, of course,
corners
yeah.
because yeah, you don't want to you don't want to get caught out for some reason. Just because option A might happen, sometimes option A might not happen, or outcome A. Sometimes outcome B might happen, and that might fuck you over. You should definitely have pushed into there. Oh, yeah, you're not pushing enough into the hog. Like, look at that. You're just basic. I know you're trying to keep your medium range, but you definitely didn't you. Wait, did you use a kinetic grasp actually?
I used it early
Let's
on.
look. Let's look back at it. When did you use your kinetic grasp?
It was further back than this. Is when we just pushed past the chug.
I see. Okay, I guess you just didn't have confidence enough. In my opinion, I was confident that you had the ability, despite being able, despite the fact that you're a medium range character, I had the confidence that you would have been able to push into that hog and execute him, or maybe even to the Lucio and execute that Lucio. Because even though the enemy team is basically regrouping, if you could have like pushed into that hog and maybe killed one or two guys,
Mm.
you would have definitely have had the support of your team. You would have driven that hog out of one place. You would have driven that hog out of the other hole, and he probably would have got the focus by your team. So yeah, I feel like you should have definitely have pushed the hog because yeah, you had the ability to. You just needed the shield. You didn't even need kinetic grasp for it. Just a shield and the accretion, and you would have been able to like push him. That was a good block right there. See, and even hog is much more useless. Oh, that was a good shield too. Nice. Yeah, you got pretty good Sigma gameplay here. How do you lose this though?
Um, yeah, this round we lose. I don't know. I don't know why. Because
Yeah, I'm
this,
guessing like you're doing really well here. I'm just wondering what's gonna happen, what changes up, what makes you guys lose. I'm wondering if like they basically took advantage of something that is like sort of your kryptonite. Like, yeah, you have a big weakness here that they took advantage of. Then yeah,
how should
I
I,
like.
for example, then I'm playing with Orisa, yes. And
Hmm.
what occasions should I double layer the shield and what occasions should I off angle? For example, here, is that the right play to what I've been doing just to stay with my Orisa, aiming one side angle, or could I have gone where I am now, more on the high ground, have a different opportunity here to fire?
I believe going to the high ground here would be useless because, like, what's the purpose? Pick up a flanker or something? You pretty much drove the enemy near back to spawn, and now that even though they respawn and regroup,
Mm,
like, it would be, I guess, I have a feeling it could be a bit too risky. It's basically a risky play. It's a profit. It's a risk versus reward here. Play that you're talking about. You're debating between risk. You're basically debating risk versus reward. Low risk low risk, low reward, or high risk, high reward.
Mm.
What do you want to pick? So this is something that just comes down to your play style. There's no true right or wrong in this sort of like situation. But let's see how it develops. In this moment, I believe it could go either way, and you would just be fine on either one. But let's just see basically where it cancels out to and see if this decision is good or not. From my opinion, it seems pretty good. Your shield right there is actually serving really nicely. Never mind, it killed the Arista despite you having a good shield. You got fucked over by their Sigma. Their Sigma actually was really good. Holy shit, I didn't even see him come around from the flank. Sucked you weren't able to build your ultimate. Maybe if you built your ultimate, if you performed the high risk slash reward play,
Mm.
you probably could have built ultimate and countered them for that. But like I said, sometimes option A doesn't happen, option B happens, outcome, not option.
Like for example, then since well, in theory, if we were tracking the Moira ult, because in my opinion, what enabled them to push that hard was because the fact that Moira ult obviously goes through barriers, and we had an opportunity to actually go into that because it was such a small choke. What Rather than being that aggressive, we were tracking ultimates. Should we have played back on point, or should we still stay that aggressive stance on the choke?
If they use Moira Ultimate, get that fuck out unless you got a Moira Ultimate keeping you alive too,
Uh,
because the Moira Ultimate's gonna kill you.
right. Okay.
Don't underestimate a Moira ult, especially in choke. Oh, it's kind of like that's a bit too flanky right there because you just basically said to your Orisa, "Hey, you take care of choke completely. I'm gonna go flank around and make a play. It's gonna take time to make the play, but I'm gonna do it." And then Orisa's just gonna look at you like, "What? My shield's only 900 HP. It's gonna die."
Mm.
But did you think about that?
No, because I was just thinking about flank angle.
Yes. Okay. So one thing I do see here that is the problem in this play is that you didn't think about what your friends were going through, and yeah, you definitely. Do you see the difference between this ultimate and the last ultimate? Remember what I pointed out?
You mentioned in terms of were they retreating? Were they being pressured to another bad option? Were any
Nope.
defensive abilities were
That
used?
that was I was not talking about the action. I was talking about the circumstance. Do you know what circumstances were between this one and the last one? Look at the circumstance between this one. They're very similar. However, the way how you played it out was bad.
Then no,
I
I don't
want
see
you to
it.
tell me what was the circumstance between. I want you to tell me what was the circumstance in this one and the circumstance in the last one, and then tell me what was it how you should have went about each one, and what was the difference between this one and last one.
The difference.
Would you like to look at it?
I'll remember it. The previous one, the fight was won and they were retreating and they were being pressured by something else.
Mm-hmm.
With this one, well, I feel there's still pressure being applied by us and they were retreating into a choke. Personally, I guess messed up my grasp rather than aiming it further forward. I just aimed it at my feet. Well, that's more of an
What?
execution.
Wait, what are you talking about?
Are you talking about my ultimate, or are you talking about something else?
I'm talking about your ultimate.
Yeah,
The
I
ultimate Steam Swagger.
I felt that was the right time to use it because the choke was they were retreating into a tight area.
This time, yeah.
But maybe there wasn't enough follow up for my team to go onto it. Maybe.
Okay. Now that you basically thunk one thing, now let's think about the next things.
Hmm.
So now that you believe that this was a right time, I want you to tell me why it was the right time. What made you believe that this circumstance was the right time?
Because they were retreating to point through a
Okay,
through a tight area.
exactly. Now, if you ulted them while they were retreating in the clumped area to while they were retreating to the tight point, you managed to catch them, that would have been a much better play, right?
Hmm.
So the difference between this play and last play is that you just didn't manage to catch them in this play. Now, what does having your teammates not following up enough have to do with this?
Um, I myself can't
If you
kill
can't,
them, so I need my team to help me out.
So you basically need to rely on the ability of others to that extent.
Mm.
Basically, you need them to be you need them to follow up for you need them to follow up and help you recover from your offensive failure after you.
Yeah.
Don't play like that.
Okay.
Let's not think like that
Okay.
because we do not want to be a detriment to our team because we'll never get to masters that way.
Mm.
Being a detriment means staying in diamond and lower,
Mm.
and then complaining about a team more. So what we want to do in this situation is we want to look at what we could have done. Pretty much, all we could have done here is manage to have at least catch them in that ultimate. And I can definitely see here that you really screwed up your ultimate. If like the only problem was your execution.
Mm.
If you had managed to catch them, like the circumstance and everything was right. Your time picking was perfect. Your decision on when to pick it was perfect. The only thing you just screwed up was the execution
Mm.
on where you accidentally placed your ultimate. You were probably a bit too late on placing it because they immediately retreated before you could get out.
Yeah.
You know. So let's look back on how you fucked up your execution and maybe what you could have changed a bit. Because we're looking for like what we can change and why we should change it or why this happened. So now we definitely see it. Did you see it?
I just casted it straight at my feet
You
rather than where they were going
where
to
is
go.
the center? Where is the center of your ultimate?
Next to my foot, pretty much.
Where is the center of the team?
At the choke.
Exactly.
Uh,
Where should you place the center of your ultimate?
at the choke?
In the back.
In the back. Okay.
You want to place the center of your ultimate to where they are going to.
Mm.
Retreating means moving, and where they're moving to, you place your ultimate.
Okay.
Where you place your center depends on how accurately well you manage to land it on them. Where they're going this way, okay? You want to place the center of your ultimate in the back over here, so that way they walk into it. Or
Mm.
maybe they sometimes don't walk into it, and you can move your ultimate to, you can basically be a bit inaccurate with your ultimate. So it's kind of like, instead of like being all the way in the back there, it's maybe like at this line over here position, so that way just in case they're like, oh, I'm not going to completely go back there, they still get caught
Mm.
because they're going to be in this general area.
Right. Gotcha.
So you want to place your ultimate. Where do you want to place your ultimate again? Let's talk. Remember the center of the ultimate
Place the center of the ultimate in the back to where they'd be going.
to where they would be going exactly. The back is not really needed because this can also be applied when they're pushing.
Mm.
That's basically a counter push tactic. This can also so it would still so even though they're retreating, this could still be applied when they're pushing. Okay.
Mm.
Okay. So now that you know that, we know what. So what are you gonna do next time you have your
Pushing.
ultimate and you need to use it?
Colon and pushing. Next time, for my ultimate, I'm going to look at the conditions, which, so if that happens, what was the phrase you used? If this happens, that happens, whatever the phrase was.
Yep.
So if they are retreating
Mm-hmm.
through a tight area, what
Mm-hmm.
I will do then will be aiming my ultimate in the back to where they'll be going to retreat, as in the
Yep.
center of my
Now, what if they're
ultimate.
pushing? Tell me what you're gonna do if they're gonna push.
If they're pushing,
Do a tight zone.
exact same principle, I suppose. Would you aim
Yeah.
for the front line or the back line? Or it doesn't matter because they're
Why would
clumped.
you? Okay, so you know where the back line is. They're in the back, right? But they're
Yeah.
pushing. Why would you aim for the back line?
Okay, fair. Okay, so you aim for the front line to where they'd be going.
Exactly, because they're going to run into it.
So in terms of target selection then, so example, if I'm gonna use ultimate on the front line, now advantageously speaking, is it better to still aim? For example, let's say I bring up the tanks in the air. Could I argue that that was a bad ultimate in the sense that I chose the wrong things to ult, despite the fact that that's the front thing coming towards us?
Mm-hmm. I mean, The only bad target to ult is if they have their defensive ability.
Yeah.
Ryan Shield is a good defensive ability. Zarya Bubbles is a good defensive ability. I mean, if they don't have at least half of that, then maybe it's probably good to ult. And then maybe, say for instance, you do ult, and you're like really close to the Ryan. You're like maybe you decide to what you call it. You do manage to ult the Reinhardt, but then you kind of like you're close enough so you can just easily flank the backline.
Mm.
Say for instance, you're coming from a flank. You're playing flank, you're playing flank Sigma, and you decide to use your ultimate from the back. You use it when they're going forward, and you're in their back line already. Their tanks are in the front,
Okay.
and you can easily aim for the back line.
Okay.
And damn, yeah. Arista has no defensive ability except for Fortify, which is actually a very critical ability to use in the fight,
Mm.
especially early in game. If you can manage to maintain an equal position despite you using your ultimate, then yeah, that's gonna be it will be technically unequal because you have made their Arista use their ability early in the fight, which would be funny. Oh, that was a bad ball. Oof. Sucks you didn't wait. How well was the shield placed? Didn't you have your shield? Oh no, you just weren't using it enough. Okay, so one thing I do notice in your combat abilities is that you don't spam your shield enough when you need to. You don't try to block enough damage. You just kind of like you like shield every 2 seconds instead of shielding as much as you possibly can.
Mm. So when I'm combating, then should I spam shield?
I mean, in that moment, do you believe you should have spam shield? Because
Yes,
like Arisa was still shooting at you.
because he's kiting. So maybe yes.
Yeah, your shield's just gonna spawn right in front of her, and as long as you can keep like blocking as much damage as possible while the Moira tries to save you, keep your shield up. Don't let that Arisa shoot you. Of
In the
course.
situation then when Sigma changes happen, where there'd be a second cast time between shields, um, should I still play him the same as
What?
best I can? Because what's going to happen in the update is Sigma will have a 1 second cast time after he's deployed it. So there'll be a gap in between when you can deploy the shield again. So in terms of that
Yeah.
kiting idea, should I? Well, in my
Just do.
head, I've been thinking almost hit it into the ground, so that way I have it's so close to me that I have the ability to keep walking backwards.
Yeah.
Okay,
Just keep using it as much as you can.
okay, respected.
Don't
I
have a
gotcha.
delay because every time you delay and they get past that shield, that's you being exposed.
Okay.
This is a good shield right here. I like this shield. Why are you doing that? You're wasting your time. Just like fuck that Sigma shield. You
Just walk
made that
past it.
Sigma
Yeah.
useful.
Mm.
You made that Sigma useful by shooting at the shield. And that's a joke. The Sigma, of course. Oh, did you manage to get her?
No, I didn't.
Nice.
No, I didn't. I thought I would. Oh, did
Oh,
I?
you didn't. No, you
Oh, I
didn't.
didn't. Okay.
Except
It's a Genji dash. Okay, I thought I
the
did for a
Genji
second.
killed her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Damn. Oh, this is gonna be a long VOD. I can see because oh my god, this is actually a really close round. Oh, did you realize what you did there? That was wrong.
I used the wrong ability. As in, I didn't think that he had his flashbang. So when I did my cast
You
time,
didn't.
I
Yeah, you didn't
lost it.
think you would. You didn't think he would use his flashbang, did you?
No.
Yeah. So you should. Do you feel like you should have been more considerate to the options he had in that moment?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Good job. Respect the McCree because he had the option to flash you. Huh. Man, this Arista's carrying as hard as he can. Poor guy. Did the Arista kill the other Arista? He did. My god. But then their Genji carried harder. Lol. Your Ursa must be probably tilting as hell right now, but I don't like hearing a diamond tilt. It's annoying. It is one of the most ear cringy things to hear. Actually, no, gold is much worse. Because
What,
gold
the
sounds
tilting?
stupid. Diamond just sounds dumb.
Right.
Yeah. Do you kill him? Good job. I like this. You're actually not using your shield because you're not even taking that much chip damage. I can actually see. You remember how that guy told you about not needing to put out shield, so just to check chip damage.
Mm.
This is a perfect example. This is a perfect example of why, because you were taking chip damage, but you weren't taking that much, and you just immediately got that healed up, and you kept your shield for more important things. So that's good. Let's look at that ultimate again. Let's look at the movement of the enemy, okay? Because sometimes you're not going to get the condition. Oh, this snap? It looked like you actually had it on that McCree. Let's like pause
This
it.
this is another occasion where it very similar to the first round. I guess accidentally placed it there because you see how it just weirdly snapped. I didn't mean
Yeah,
to
just
aim
like
it there.
boom.
Yeah,
Yeah, you were trying to get that McCree, weren't you?
it was.
Take him out the fight. That would have been so good if you took him out the fight, because then they would have had no DPS, just supports. I can tell you even kept your attention on him despite failing the ultimate. Oh yeah, your shield abilities are horrible because you barely recall your shield a lot. Oh wait, did you lose last round? No, you've lost this round. A C9.
Yeah, we see that.
Oh my god. And you even had a good position too. That just sucked.
I have a question then. So when I was watching the Chrono Trigger VOD when you did with Spylo, he talked about how Sigma's abilities almost allow him to do two things at once. So the example he gave was on the
Oh
exact same
yeah,
map
that's
here,
true.
where let's say you would send a Winston to contest the Widow. Sigma's
Mm-hmm.
shield kind of does the same thing anyway, because if you fire the shield at her, it blocks her sightlines, which means it allows you then to do other things. So it's almost the same as having a Winston and having, I don't know, a Zarya with you at the same time, and one hero, because his shield can block LOS and he can do other things as well at the same time, as in provide damage. So, for
Yeah.
example, in that situation, that if my ult wasn't an option, when should I look to fire my shield, let's say at that McCree, so he couldn't contribute to the backline? Because you said to me, it's good I didn't use shield to block unnecessary poke damage or chip damage, but in hindsight, looking now, could a potential play could have been to fire my shield to block the LOS of a DPS, i.e. that McCree in that situation.
Yeah. You definitely could have. You definitely could have used the shield to block McCree in that situation. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Um, that's actually a really good tip though. I feel like I actually want to explain that to you, how you can utilize your how you can increase your effectiveness as Sigma to basically using your abilities at the same time, because honestly Sigma can do more than one thing um at once. So yeah. I want to see how. Let's see if we can maybe like analyze that in this spot. See if we can find it, because being effective with Sigma or just as a tank in general is extremely important in winning the fight.
I feel like that role I just mentioned now is not really enabled or easily done if I'm playing Sigma as a main tank, because I need his shield to help out the front. Is that correct?
Like because Sigma already has a job to do, and that's the important job of playing the main tank and trying to make space with his shield. This one over here, so yeah, actually, you know what? I can definitely start seeing more mistakes now, or not mistakes exactly, but more like opportunities that you're missing out on to basically increase effectiveness. So like basically you are brawling out, but you're not using your shield to basically like block more sight lines. So like let's look in this fight again.
Mm.
Right when this fight had started, it's going. around over here, basically you start going into the fight, and you're basically gonna shoot. Okay, that's pretty good. And then you start placing down your shield around at this point. That's fine too. You're basically using all your abilities at the same time. And this is a point at where you could basically use most of your shields. Because now look at this. Arissa's shield is over here, so she can't use it. If you put your shield like maybe in the middle over here, you could have given some cover on point,
Mm.
and you could have brawled at the same time too. I mean, you kind of do that though, but it could have been better placed.
Is a I remember a tip I remember watching somewhere was again quote on Trigger. He said, "For a situation, you place the shield. Example, what I was trying to do in the middle of the point, so that way myself and my team can shield dance with it." So is that an idea to use it while brawling?
Yeah,
Okay.
shield dancing is a part of brawling.
Okay.
One thing I definitely say you should improve on is your brawling skills. Not really a good coach at knowing how to. I'm not. I don't know how to exactly coach brawling, but you can't just walk up to it. Are you trying to get the achievement sniper duel or something?
No, just maintain the medium range.
Yeah. Achievement obtained, medium range. Oh yeah. All right, so you basically occupied that part. Um, huh. Honestly, you kind of were using everything that you could have. It's just really your position that was bad. I would say over here you didn't maintain your medium range position well. Like, let's look at this. It was actually before this. Okay, so now we know what the punishment was. You were definitely close range, but let's like basically see what got you close range. So yeah, you basically go over here. You decide to go over here. Do you need to be over here? Do
I
you even get
was.
more closer?
I think
Do you
it
need to be?
was for me. I think it was the reason why I went out to the side was to get another angle since Arisha Shield was there, and then
Yeah,
might have been accident. I don't know. Might have been just pure coincidence or by luck, but the team got booped in towards me. Then I got punched because how close I was.
yeah, you did. Now you see the I hear apparently what you would call it. Did you know that you could have positioned a bit more back and still
I
had the same effectiveness?
probably not. I mean, like in hindsight, yes, but um, at that time, no.
Yeah, even when taking an off angle, it's okay to like still keep distance. So you should still try to keep distance if you can, even when you're going off angles. Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. Huh. It's not an easy fight for them to win. Your team just took out three others, four others. Huh. Your team's gonna win on this fight. Nice shot. Good job. I like how you're showing confidence, but you're still having caution. You're confident enough to you can push in, to where you can push into the enemy and get picks, but cautious enough to know what the enemy can do to you if you push up too far. Oof. Oh man, you got really preoccupied with that ball. Oh, please tell me you kill him. Yay, you killed him. Oh, nice HP.
you're getting not much I can really comment here. To be honest, this is pretty much a brawl fest. I couldn't comment a lot on that except just that was a brawl fest and I didn't don't know.
I
Uh,
felt you mentioned that. I felt like there's a good second or two where I was doing nothing. I don't know why. I don't know what my brain was thinking, but like before the Hammond engaged, I think I was just like awkwardly looking at both sides of the choke. I don't know what actively else I could have done rather than just well go brain dead, I suppose.
Yeah, you did kind of look like you went brain dead. I noticed that, like, you basically just did what you can. I could, I guess I could put a note just make it just saying, make sure you maintain your medium range and, make sure you have your barrier well. I honestly don't see it. I honestly don't see anything too much over there that basically requires any sort of like fundamental to be learned, except just maybe for those two, when taking into account of playing Sigma is just keeping medium range and um what's it called, spam barrier. That's new first though. Hmm. Oh, I would have definitely shot her, man. Why'd you like just try to shield the tracer? Oh, nice. Honestly, Sigma is a fucking tracer counter. I don't know. Apparently on console. That happens. Oh, that's right. Sigma's balls lock on, so that's why you can get accurate ones. Yeah, you. Is there something wrong with your shield spamming or something?
Don't know. Maybe I'm just getting used to it.
Oh.
It might be different now. This is like this was taken on Sunday or Monday, I think. So it was probably is different now. But
Oh.
I'd rather show you earlier gameplay so that way anything I need to iron out, I can iron out.
Well, actually I prefer more warmed up gameplay because if you are cold, I don't want to be seeing your mistakes just based on the fact that you're like not completely warmed up or like half tired.
Mm,
It looks like you're gonna win. You're gonna win?
yeah.
You won. I thought this would be a. I thought you told me this would be a lot.
No, the overview was a loss. The one I sent
Oh.
over to you, because
Oh.
so this is I mean, I still appreciate this a lot because I obviously want to improve my Sigma regardless because I want to get good with him for double barrier and him as an individual, just like any
To
other
be
game.
honest, I will say this though. You won because you won a lot of your fights, which led to your victory in the end because you were applying more of your fundamentals. So I'm gonna say this is a deserved victory. I wouldn't. I'm not gonna like say that. I'm not gonna say that you should have sent me a different VOD where you lost. I'm actually glad you sent me this VOD because I'm actually still glad that you sent me this VOD because you were applying a lot of the important fundamentals. The only problems you had was just with your ultimate, with your brawling skills. You don't seem to spam barrier a lot, like you should.
Mm.
Um, what you call it? What else?
So should I shouldn't I
Your
spam barriers with Sigma? Because I've been told not to. Again, depends on the situation, contextually speaking. But as a whole, Sigma shouldn't
when
be
you're
doing
trying
that.
to retreat. So this is why you would spam barrier. When you're trying to retreat, the only time you would spam barrier is when you're trying to get the fuck back because
Yeah.
you don't want that enemy to constantly be in front of you, separate, basically closing the distance between you and them past the barrier. You always want to have a barrier in between so
Oh
you
no,
can
sorry.
have
So when I say spam barrier, I mean as in shooting the enemy barrier.
Oh no, I'm talking about spam.
Right,
I'm gonna.
gotcha.
You should never do that.
Yeah.
I'm talking about you should spam barrier, as in keep a barrier between you and the enemy as much as you can
Mm.
when you're trying to retreat. When you're low health, you want to make sure you have your barrier absorb damage. Okay,
Right.
so that's definitely something I want to see more in your brawling skills. I want to see you have more confidence towards killing the enemy, but still maintain that level of caution. Like I said, remember back then with like that, just like talking about caution. Remember when you basically fought the McCree?
Mm.
You were confident on killing the McCree. However, you weren't cautious or you weren't thinking about the outcome. You weren't thinking about the part where he might use his flash to stun you and then like really threaten the hell out of you. You know? So and that in the end kind of like led to your death because we're a bit too overconfident on the create instinctively
Mm,
because you use your accretion without thinking. You didn't. I could tell you didn't even think about using your grasp. So yeah, another thing is so yeah, basically that whole topic actually. Make sure you think about what the enemy can do before you do something. You
mm,
know, like remember, like if you know what the enemy can do, then you know what you can do also easily. Because if you know what they can do, you know what they can't do.
mm.
It gets a bit advanced from there. So
Right.
you'll be thinking a lot more. With this tip in mind, keep in mind that it's going to be very difficult to integrate into your games, and you will not have the easiest time trying to put it in. But if you give yourself time, you will start seeing benefits from it, and you'll be able to actually read the enemy a lot more.
Mm,
And you'll feel like you'll be getting into the enemy's mind and be like, oh, hey, you'll start noticing patterns that your enemies do because you know what they can do and you know what they can't do. You'll even see a pattern in yourself, and that's okay.
mm.
You know, you still want to make sure that you keep playing for a win. You know, you'll just be able to see it more deeply.
Cool.
So yeah. Anything else that I noted down? Oh yes, right. Let's basically review your ultimate. Tell me what you learned about your ultimate so far.
Ultimate so far, again, following that model of if this happened, then this is the response for it. So if they are retreating into a tight area, and
Mm-hmm.
well, conditions are one, they're retreating, two, into a tight area, three, if defensive abilities are removed, aim my ultimate into the back to where they'll be going for the retreat. If they're going forward as a counterplay, exact same philosophy where if they're coming to a tight area, um, all those kind of things mentioned beforehand, fire the ult where they're coming in towards you, as in the center
Yeah.
of the ultimate to lift them from there.
Good job. I love it. Now I'm hoping to see some good ultimates from that because basically both as we saw from the first clip where you actually succeeded in grabbing people with your ultimate. I hope to see that a ton more in your plays. I hope to see what you would call it, a ton more good ultimates happening and even possibly some good play of the games too.
Hmm.
Okay.
Okay,
So
perfect.
I think anything else that we covered, anything else you want to say maybe actually.
Well, I don't want to take too much of your time because obviously we spend a lot of time on this. But I mean, in the future, one thing I
Oh
would
no,
like,
it's fine. Take as much time as you
cool,
need.
because in the future, what I would like to do is, for example, the thing I sent you over with the whole overview. I've only found out yesterday how to put the map overlay to see the icons of the
Mm-hmm.
heroes, so that we can actually tell where everybody is. But I kind of want to take the
That's
approach.
not needed.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, fine. I mean,
Don't put the icons because I won't be able to see anything. I would
cool.
rather have the icons be off and you zoom in
Okay.
more.
All right. Cool.
Yeah.
So for me, I kind of want to analyze. For example, let's say we're running double barrier. We know what each role of the person is. Um, I want to know. Right. Here's the theory of how you should execute, and this is a fight. So this is a team fight, and this is why we won that team fight. And this is why we lost this team fight. So example with the Havana
Mm-hmm.
clip, the first one we lost the first team fight, we won the second team fight, we won the third team fight, and then we overall lost the fourth team fight. This is kind of I want to analyze it from a bird's eye view, saying cool. So this is what we're meant to be doing, but this is the pure execution, oh, the poor execution or good execution to why we won or lost that team fight.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I don't know how much time that will take. Like for example, I don't mind improving individually. Obviously, I do want to improve individually with the heroes, but then in a kind of scrim environment, if we have a session dedicated just to, I don't know how you would suggest it, but for me, I would like to what's it looking for, carp, carp, compress it into one team fight analysis kind of thing.
I see. Okay then. Yeah.
Is
Would
that
you
a
like?
good way to
Would you?
improve upon?
That's definitely something to improve upon. It will mainly benefit you in a scrim environment and communication wise.
Mm,
In terms of kind of like overall to ranked gameplay, it might not. I'm not sure how much it could do, because there's usually around this rank there's a lot of other problems you'll have to work on first before you get to team plays. Like maybe if you're masters, okay, then it's important to start learning about team compositions and everything and things that would usually benefit you in scrims because those would usually benefit you when you're going from low masters to high masters.
mm.
So yeah.
Okay. So are you saying that more with Diamond is more about what you can do as an individual versus?
Diamond is about fixing yourself up and being a less scuffed player.
Okay.
The only thing that basically separates because if anything, I'm gonna say that there's a difference between low master players and high master players. And like GM is its own level still. There's no high master players and mid GM players. Like there's like no high level master players to low GM players are like basically their own rank too. High master low but there is a difference between high master players though, and high master players know much more better about compositions than low master players do, because low master players get their inaccuracies from not the best decision making, whereas high master players kind of like know the best decision almost every time, and they execute on it better, and they execute it on it more accurately than the other lower ones.
Okay.
So yeah, would you still like to actually go over the team fight, Vaughn?
I mean,
Maybe we
I
can
would
draw
love
something
to.
out. Okay, let's go. Let's do it. Do you have time?
Yeah, I have time. It's only like 12 o'clock in the afternoon, so I'm just thinking more about you because I know it's like what, midnight for you or something like that.
Yeah. I'm a night owl.
Oh, okay, fair then.
Yeah. All right. Change replay for a second.
So yeah, so the only reason why I slowed things down was for me to see what was happening rather than yourself. So because everything was
I
happening
mean,
too fast. Yeah, but anyway.
everything will be happening fast. It's just that oh, change replay. No, that's not what I want. Oh, I see. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a new replay up. Alright, I was testing out in the future, so I'm just try it again. Upload, submit. Paste. All right, here you go. So I'll be honest, I'm gonna probably get annoyed by it a bit. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna get annoyed to the point where I might have to like pause the video, come back for a bit to cool down, because the slowness of this video actually annoyed me a lot.
Right. Okay.
So
Okay.
I made sure to watch it in advance, so I wouldn't get annoyed by it this much right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Havana. All right. Sweet.
Are you ready, my bro?
Yes, I am.
All right.
Oh, just quickly, can I add my friend Bjorn to the group? He's part of my scrim team. He's just for him to listen.
Yeah, sure. Is he here right now?
He's online. How do I add?
It's go to in the top right corner.
Yeah, I see it
and
now.
then look around to access DM. I like Bjorn's picture. It looks nice.
I'm just adding him now.
What's up, Bjorn?
He might be just listening in. To be fair, he said, "Can I listen in?" So I don't know if he's actually occupied right now.
Okay. If that's the case, then let's continue on.
Let me 2 seconds. Let me just add the clip back into the link. Sorry, back into here so you can click on it.
Oh yeah, here I got this.
Oop.
There you go. That's fine. More the merrier.
Okay, cool. I'm ready.
All right, let's do this. Okay, so we're gonna kind of go into this fight. It's gonna be a bit slow pace and slow mode.
So before we start, then for me, so I've been watching a video by SciShow talking about kind of what this meta is in regards to. Pardon?
Oh no, I was just whispering to myself. I should watch SciShow actually.
Oh right, cool, yeah. So I was looking. Basically, he was saying how it's like a 4-step process of how this particular meta comp runs, assuming it's mirrored anyway. So the first step is halting by the Orisa for the Doomfist to get a punch. Hopefully get something with that. The enemy Doomfist tries to punish the Doomfist going in for a punch. If neither of them get a kill, the Reapers are then sent into the backline to pressure the backline to try and get killed themselves. If they don't get a kill, they Wraith Form out, and they resets from there. And that's how I understand this particular meta comp to be run. So that is my understanding of what I should be looking for. But again, it depends on the enemy team comp, blah, blah, blah. But also, just put things in context, only 1, 2, 3 of us in this group are part of my scrim team. So that is where, if it might look disjointed, it's because the Doom and the Lucia weren't in chat with us.
Okay. Okay, so if that's the case, then mainly I'm gonna be looking for I'm gonna be looking for coordination between you and Orisa because those two have the biggest synergy. So Reaper drops down to engage with the Brigitte, good punish. So basically, I like how this fight started out. Um, Not so much for the enemy team. If this was the enemy team, I would have been sad and upset.
Mm.
But your Reaper got a nice punish onto the Brig. You your Lucio and the Orisa got knocked out by the Wrecking Ball. A Wrecking Ball follows up with a Pile Driver, and Lucio probably might get destroyed. Yeah, he gets destroyed. I thought so. Where the hell were you actually in this one?
I'm in the bottom left. I just threw the rock.
Oh, there you are. I couldn't find you. Okay, so let's just kind of go back a bit, because I want to pay mainly attention to you. Um,
So I heard the call for the brig, and I dropped down to help my Reaper out.
yeah, I see it. Oh, come on. Why you gotta be slow on me like that? Okay, so you were too late on killing the brig. Uh, that was so weird. What kind of rock was that?
I
Oh
just
well,
tried
no
to.
matter.
Yeah,
We're not
anyway.
focusing on that right now. Hmm. Um. I'm really gonna be paying attention to how well you do your role. So right now, since you're basically playing with your team, the main things we're gonna be looking here, the objective, um, here is to look for how well you play the long game. Because usually when you play with your team, playing the long game usually leads to more better outcomes. The first thing you usually want to do in the long game, first fundamental rule is drain your enemy's resources as much as you can without them draining yours as much.
Hmm.
So if you can basically get that Orisa shield down, put tons of pressure on it, that's good. That'll be really good because the Orisa is going to be forced onto using her shield more often, whereas your Orisa can like be a little bit more chillax with her shield since you have your Orisa barrier. But since they do have a ball, what you call it, lucky being wary of ball is going to be important. But since they have you, throwing the rock at the ball shouldn't be too big of a deal as long as you can like land successfully. I have seen your recreation throws though, not the best. You seem to be only paying attention. I can see there's a Reaper flank over here. You're only paying attention to the front line. Still playing a good long game. Let's see how well you react to the Reaper. Because I remember the last time you told me you had turtle beaches and you didn't notice the Reaper.
Okay.
I'm hoping you've improved on your sonic hearing. Oh hey, is that you? It looks like it's you. This one looks like it's not you. So the two in the front. I'm expecting a counterplay. Oh, I would have expected you to have thrown that shield into your Orisa because you're completely fine. The Reaper's not shooting you. Why are you trying to defend yourself?
True.
Yeah. Please no draw circles. I'm trying to like make sure we keep focused here. Don't want to distract ourselves with such things and miss out on important pieces of information.
So in that situation, then obviously the Rissa was being pressured by the Reaper. Objectively speaking, without putting any kind of context of who was playing what, should the Orisa have come back, or should the team have gone forward to help out the Orisa?
The team should have gone forward to help out with the Orisa,
Right. Okay.
especially since it's you. This is another important team fundamental to have. Okay, sometimes your teammates are gonna fuck up eventually. So like I said before, sometimes outcome A might not happen. You might get outcome B or outcome C. Outcome C in this regard is basically Reaper kills your Orisa because he isn't a flank. Had outcome A or B have happened, it basically involves your Orisa not dying, and you would still continue doing what you're doing.
Mm.
However, since you were not ready for outcome C, I'm not sure if you had your grasp or not, or just how you went with it. But it seems you were not prepared. Um, you were not prepared enough to be able to be able to counter Reaper in the situation where you tried to kill your Orisa because your Orisa didn't have fight, and she just died like that. In this case I would have either saved one ability, either accretion or grasp, because one, you don't, especially grasp, like accretion you could probably have on cooldown, I guess. I don't know. Actually, no, I would have definitely have saved accretion for ball. So accretion saves for ball, and then you basically either and then you keep kinetic grasp for just a defensive use. So your kinetic grasp should definitely have been saved for your Orisa there and used on your Orisa there.
Okay.
Yeah. Remember, since you are playing as a team and I'm paying attention to the long game, I'll be looking at basically who puts out about how I'm going to be looking at how well you do. I'm going to be looking at how well you conserve your abilities, your important abilities, aka rock and grasp, and how you use it to play the long game. Over here, you're just using it horribly. You're just flinging your abilities out. Look at that. You throw your rock out. That's like the perfect opportunity for Ball to go in. And if I'm not mistaken, Ball is gonna actually charge. He's gonna be like more daring now. Like, look at him. He's gonna have his confidence is gonna go up. See, he's already rolling. There's no ball. There's no rock to stop him. He's gonna be like, I'm gonna go get some things done. He even dodges your Doomfist. He's that confident. Oh, but never mind. Nope, he's a bitch because I think he's diamond. He's a diamond console player. So yeah, he's still a scuff. He looks good at first, but he does his diamond usual things and decides to be like, oh, I'm a bitch out. Reaper does his dumb diamond shit too and overextends into oblivion. I would have definitely tried to hold more. Nah, actually, no, that would have been a horrible idea. You try to hold any more forward, that Bolt's just gonna fucking punish you. So very reasonable there.
So why was that rotation to where we are now better than staying in the open? You mentioned the ball, but I mean, what would the conscious thought on the fly be to make that call to go back?
Basically, the reason why you want to stay so far back is because CC is overpowered in this game, and if you push too far forward, maybe even just 2 inches, you're dead.
Okay.
And Ball is a fucking CC character. So you basically put yourself in a situation where CC will kill you. In that outcome, you will possibly have a big chance of getting CC by Ball, aka pushed into the team, pile drived up into the air, and picked out that easily.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a good thing you stayed back because you would take into consideration if how far you can push forward without getting CC'd.
Okay.
Yeah. So right now at this point, you're just trying to like basically regroup and stuff. And over here, I definitely should have seen a fucking rock fly at this damn ball. I don't know why you didn't fly it. I'm just guessing because you probably didn't have rock or you're bad at aiming. And now you lost your Moira. Had you thrown that rock, you would have saved your Moira. So yeah.
Okay.
And look at that. You're just kind of like out in the open. One thing here I just would say that's very awkward is look at this situation right here. Team is pushing payload, ball is pushed out forward, and you only have 3 people right here.
Mm.
In this position, get the fuck back. Don't try to push forward at any sort of moment. Just get the hell back. Try to regroup as much as you can. Give up the ground because you don't want the enemy, one, to get more ult charge, and two, to get more kills. Because if the enemy kills you, your healers won't get the ult charge, and they'll get their ult charge. And two, you have to go back to spawn. So that's one thing you don't want to have happen is you don't want to stay exposed in this area and in a situation where you are completely down 3, you don't want to stay forward. You want to constantly retreat until you get back with your teammates unless you are trying to stall, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
In that thought process, then, as you mentioned, obviously retreating is good. When is it a trade-off where you retreat so far back, you give it so much room to the enemy for them to work around, versus holding a stance so you don't allow them to use more room?
Now let's think about choices here. Basically, why would you retreat compared to why you would stay your ground?
Mm.
So let's think about it. Why would you? So if you stay your ground, what's gonna happen? Look at the situation here. If you stay your ground in this moment, what's going to happen to you?
Over time, we'll get whittled down, and then we'll go stagger.
No, they're like right over there. You think they're just going to whittle you down? Just whittle you down?
Oh, they can push really hard onto us. I mean,
Yeah.
if
They'll
they
kill you instantly like this. If you heard that snap. Did you hear that snap?
Mm.
Yeah, I'll snap it one more time. That's how fast you're going to die if you stay your ground. And do you know the punishments of getting destroyed that quickly?
Staggered. And
You get
objective
staggered.
time. Objective gets
You
moved
get
forward.
Yep, you get staggered. You basically give them more ult charge. You feed ult charge because you're a tank and you feed lots. And yeah, you stagger your team and you feed ult charge. And that is really two big punishments right there if you stay your ground. Because you're allowing the enemy to just immediately take you out. They're not gonna just whittle you down. They're gonna take you out if they have the chance. So now what, and this is why you would retreat. Say for instance, you start retreating. The enemy sees a chance that they can whittle you down. The enemy sees that chance that they can possibly kill you, and they're gonna try to kill you, but then you keep retreating. You keep retreating. You're trying to stay alive. You're fighting for your life just to stay alive and not get staggered, not give ultimate charge. And then you do stay alive and you make it back to your team. They got your back. They put shields, they cover you, and they don't let the enemy get past the shields. Boom, you're alive. Now you can regroup, get your healers back. You're getting healed up slowly by the Lucio, and then you can create some sort of like ground to stand on because you have like just decently enough troops to like stand there for a bit. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So that's like basically the based on when you would retreat and when you would stand your ground depends on what you believe on what you can calculate the outcome to be. I can immediately calculate from this picture that of what would happen if you stand your ground. Can you see it too?
Yeah, I can see 100%.
Yeah, exactly. So you won't be seeing this type of perspective. It'll be basically kind of like, yeah. So you want to be aware of that. You want to always be aware of the outcome. This is why, what you call it, you should always be aware of your surrounding as much as you can, because the more you're aware, the more outcomes you know of. The less outcomes you know of, the more risk you're playing into, and the more you're gonna get like batted from the back of the head unknowingly, and you wouldn't have expected. You would have feel like it's unfair. So that way, it's important to know. Luckily, your ball's being nice to you here, and he's like, "Hey, you're not gonna get back. I'll push you back myself." Honestly, if that ball was much more mean, he would have booped you into the forward. He would have booped you forward into his team, and I would have loved that ball for doing that. But then again, this is Diamond. Can I please see a fucking rock fly into that damn ball? No rock. I don't see any sort of cast time for a rock. I swear to God, if I see a cast time right now as they're flying up.
I hit him. We're not after the slam.
I see a cast time as, oh my God.
Yeah.
You're supposed to throw it before he hits you.
For me, to be honest,
so
it's about. I've got this habit, especially when I play Hog as well, is I wait for the ball to slam to then fire my CC ability rather than trying to catch it in the air. So I think maybe that's what I'm doing here as well with Sigma.
Okay, yeah, you're doing that, but I'm gonna say you should also probably not do that as Hog because one, when ball flies in the air without his hook, or yeah, actually when ball flies in the air in general, he's gonna go in a very predictable direction. So that's when you want to like calculate where he's gonna go. That's when you want to start getting out your rock and start trying to hit him. He might be a bit fast, but you need to make sure that you hit him before he slams onto your team. He gets that slam off. This is probably what could happen to your team, which I'm about to guess your team is about to get screwed by. Right? Nope, your team doesn't get screwed by it. But you know what happens? Your Reaper uses Wraith. Your Orisa uses Fortify. Her shield is right over here. That's like a really sad position to be in. Your teammates are already using their biggest important abilities before they even get to brawl. They don't even get to do anything yet, and they've already used their strongest abilities. These ones over here, nah, Rissa has her Fortify. Reaper over here, he'll get his stuff. He'll get his Wraith back very quickly. He already used it before. He's just gonna get it back like boom, before your Reaper could. Honestly, this is that, and that's why tank is a bit difficult to understand. because you probably didn't even know why that slam was so deadly. But when I told you, it probably sounds a lot more deadly now. Yeah.
Hmm. It just took a lot of resources, and it puts it in their favor.
Yeah, and look at what your Reaper's doing right now. He's pushing out. Now your Reaper's being a diamond idiot here and basically thinking, trying to like make some sort of play. Honestly, he's just not being an idiot. He's also being desperate. I can tell he's desperate. He's trying to do something. So I kind of like, I can sympathize with him. Anybody can sympathize with his desperateness, but it's still stupid. And the Brigade is just like, no. I like that. It honestly felt like Brigitte was just telling him stop being desperate. Oh, that was a good pull by Arissa right here. She pulled the Reaper off. The Reaper is gonna try to go for a flank, drop down, come from the back over here, kills. Probably oh, this Reaper doesn't have Wraith yet. What? Weird. I guess not much active engagement. Holy hell, 30%? What have you been doing in this fight, my dude?
Not much, looks like. Missing
Yeah, not
rocks.
much. Missing rocks, missing shots, probably. Who knows? Probably shooting barriers mainly. Yeah, that was okay. That was an okay play by a Reaper. He definitely could have raced out. But racing it. Okay, well, actually, the Arista just used their Fortify, so it's okay. So this is fine. I notice you never really tend to save your rock for the ball.
Hmm.
If you're gonna be playing as a team, you need to think about what you call it. Who are the biggest threats to your team? Because as Sigma, you are the biggest defensive factor in your team if you don't have Zarya. Zarya would be the first biggest, while you would be the second biggest, unless you have some sort of other PO character that I can't think of at the moment right now. So if you're when you're Sigma, your job is to usually counteract the enemy's plays and what you call it, mitigate any sort of damage they do onto your team as much as you can. How you do this is you look for who's the biggest threat to your team. Ball is an obvious one because your team, well, despite them having high survivability, he can still do a lot of CC, and you can still counter him greatly with your ability, which is the accretion. So I really would definitely have liked to see more hits onto the ball instead of just random people. Why is nobody paying attention to this Mercy immediately? It like took you guys a few It's like took you guys several frames to pay attention to her. And why is that Ash all the way over there for some reason? Oh no, sorry, that's not an Ash. That's a Reaper. My bad. Right, you guys don't have an Ash. Oh, he had Wraith. Fine. Mhm. Oof. Oh my god, the Reaper just decides to use his ultimate. What the fuck? What in the hell? Still, though, I should definitely be seeing a lot more rocks. I can't say much more. You guys are winning so far pretty well. But one thing though that you definitely should have done was stop that ball from using his ultimate, no matter what. Whether you would have pressed the shield into his ult or, um, yeah. Oh, gotta kill that Reaper. Please kill him. Good. This is going smoothly so far.
In this situation, then, like, for example, with the Reaper and the Doomfist, again, I just want to, objectively
Mhm.
speaking anyway, yes, our Reaper's getting loads of kills, and I think Doomfist popped up as well. Should they be existing more in the backline?
No, they don't have to.
Okay.
Remember what I said about this composition before? This composition is extremely flexible. They can appear in both the back line and the front line. They both have extremely good offensive capabilities as well as the as being capable for defensiveness. When you don't have, and the important thing is to know that when you don't have to be defensive, then be offensive,
Hmm.
because you're not gonna get any value out of defending shit if you're not defending it from anything. You only what you call it, being offensive is usually the first option, but yeah.
So what's a neutral stance that the Reaper and the Doom should be having?
Being offensive when there's nothing to defend from,
Okay.
and defending their Sigma if their Sigma can't defend shit and they're in trouble, you know?
Okay.
Yeah. You Sigma and Darissa are the first offensive factors in the composition. I mean, despite the fact that you also have Lucio and Moira, but Lucio and Moira have extremely high survivability. So like you don't have to really worry much about anything. You kind of just gotta make sure you keep yourselves alive and counteract the enemy from doing a lot. As long as the enemy gets little value and doesn't force your friends to use as much abilities, then you're good. I say the main person you'll mainly be defending and covering for is the Doomfist, because I see the Doomfist engages and disengages a lot more. So you want to support his aggression by making sure he lives a lot more, making sure he doesn't die.
How would I do that then? Just spam when he's
Uh,
going in for a punch or for a play?
put a
Put a shield.
shield by him, and when he's going in, like basically put a shield where
Okay.
he's gonna land his punch. Yeah.
All right.
And like if you can, like, don't put it out when you are using that shield,
Yeah, of
like
course.
if you're occupied with something, like keep that shield, you got shit to do. Over here you get this over here a Bob comes in the back line. So now that you're in a situation, Bob is in the back line, what should be happening right now? What
Zoning
do you
out
do?
Bob.
How do you zone out Bob?
Put a shield in front of his face.
Good job.
I think that's what I did
Now
anyway.
let's watch
I
that part.
think. Where am I?
You do. However, here's the sucky part. Do you want to know how else you want to know the second condition in order to zone out Bob?
Um,
Have
go
him
on.
focus on you. Because if Bob doesn't focus on you, he's gonna focus
Right.
on the others, and he's gonna switch aggression constantly, and he will never really get zoned out by you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does he work the same way as a turret?
Yes, he does.
Okay.
He's the same thing as a Torbjorn turret.
It's the closest thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
A 1500 HP Torbjorn turret. And your rock usage is horrible. I would say this is basically what made you lose this fight and possibly this match. So definitely got to work on your rock accuracy.
So what led to this outcome happening in terms of a team fight perspective?
The enemy was setting things up, and there wasn't really much con to play. Let's just look at it. So let's just first go all the way back to the beginning. I think around over no before that actually. Before this kill. So what the enemy wanted to do was they wanted to create a ton of chaos in the back line, okay? So basically now that your team had a ton of chaos to focus on the back line, you guys are pretty scattered and you guys are pretty low health too. Your Doom Fist is 1 health, you're like under half health. The rest are pretty fine, but you guys are in a shitty position right now, super much. The enemy has succeeded in doing that with their ultimates. They got exactly what they want, and now it was cleanup time. It was now that they basically put you guys in a weak state. Now that you guys were vulnerable, um, now all they had to do is just execute the kills, and so ball comes in with a slam that you should have definitely countered with rock and kills the Doomfist. Granted, you probably couldn't have stopped that, but you still should have tried because accuracy will kill that, will stop that ball. Then you lose your Orisa. Still can have probably stopped that with kinetic. Probably could have stopped that with kinetic grasp. And you probably still have your abilities right now. And you just use your rock. Could have you pretty much. Actually, you know what? After your Arista died. This is pretty much this is pretty much cementing the fact that you're going to lose this fight. Because one, you lost two characters that were extremely important to keep in the fight: a tank and a DPS. Because if like okay, maybe losing healer would have been bad, but you still would if you had your Doomfist still, you still would have had that chaotic factor in your team because Doomfist is a chaotic and one shot type of hero. You still would have had potential to possibly turn a fight around. Orisa would have given you sustain and would have given you much more sustain with her shields and her pullback ability and stuff. But yeah, you pretty much it's cemented defeat right here. So this is basically what you would call defeat.
Okay.
And because you could have prevented both of these deaths, you couldn't have prevented the ults the ultimates they used and the chaos they created, but you could have prevented this execution. You could have prevented this execution, and with your kinetic grasp, with your rock. And had you been able to do that, well, it might have gone a different way, honestly,
Mm.
because Doomfist would have had longer time to live,
Mm.
and your healers would have had longer time to have possibly healed the Doomfist. So you see what I mean?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
The importance of playing a defensive factor. So you definitely have failed as I mean, you definitely have failed as a Sigma player and as a teammate to defend your teammates from these plays.
Okay.
So yeah.
So now that I believe we kind of neared the end of this fight.
It's pretty much just playing the defeat out. So if I was to just like make this more faster, as we can see, it's just pretty much you guys just die, and there's nothing really to stop this.
Okay. Right. So what could I so far what I could take away from that team fight would be one, most importantly, hitting rock, using a lot more, understanding who the biggest threats are to
Yeah, exactly.
dislodge, I suppose. So that'd be like if it wasn't a ball, it would be a Doomfist. If it wasn't a Doomfist, it would be a Reaper, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Okay.
You need to make sure that you as the defensive player, like you need to like usually you want to save your if you usually want to save your rock for more offensive compositions, whereas if you're going to be more proactive with using your rock, it wouldn't be against a composition that has ball. If it's
Okay.
against a composition that maybe has ball or maybe a Doomfist, then you kind of like want to keep your rock, especially if it's against Reaper. You know,
Okay.
like you want to play more conservative as a Sigma player and more defensive, especially if you have two offensive players on your team, like Doomfist and Reaper, because you want to still keep that balance.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, you want to keep that
That makes
balance,
sense.
making sure yeah that way your team isn't as vulnerable.
Okay.
And I see in this match you played very offensively in this match. You basically tried to go for a lot more kills. You tried to be more proactive and effective with your abilities, but you didn't need to. You were okay playing a bit. It was okay to play a bit inactive because you playing a bit more defensive would have definitely balanced out the offensiveness of your team. So yeah.
Okay.
Um, Pretty much. One thing though, how you can improve is definitely improve on your rock usage. Honestly, all I can say is just grind and like practice, making sure you like time it right throughout the projectile.
Hmm.
What else? Also, I want to see you use your kinetic grasp to save your teammates as much as you can save yourself. Try to not use it. Try to not get yourself in a much shitty situation if you have two offensive DPS. Okay.
So I should be with my Arissa more then to be able to peel for her.
Exactly, because in this composition, I can definitely see why Sigmas will play frontline now. It's because you want to keep a balance to your team. You want to make sure your team doesn't be as vulnerable.
Okay.
Because the fact that you have a Reaper and a Doomfist, they are vulnerable once their abilities are down. So it's up to you four to making sure you sustain them
Right.
until their abilities are up again.
Okay. So
And keep in mind,
I'm not playing the
oh,
medium distance as much then I suppose. I am sorry. I still
you
am.
still are, but you're not committed to. You're committed
Right.
to making sure the enemy doesn't get to do what they want, and
So
you're committed to making sure you enable your team as much, you enable your DPS as much as you can.
so it's kind of like the lesson you gave me before when I was playing Diva about yes, I can sit and wait for flanks to happen, but if I'm sitting and waiting, nothing really. I'm not doing anything
Yeah,
in the fight. I should be kind of in that middle ground where I can very easily help out in the front but
Yep.
also maintain a medium distance quite
Yeah.
seamlessly.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. All right. Cool.
Yep.
All right. Oh, good. Perfect. Anything else you noticed?
Let's see. You're very slow at charging your ultimate. It took you like 3 minutes to charge that ultimate.
Mm.
I'm guessing it's because of how you played. You're pretty defensive. But one thing I should say you should try to start doing a bit more often in your games is try to get past shields. Like, even if they have an arrest in a Sigma, still try to find a way to ricochet your balls past them, get that ultimate charge quicker.
Mm.
You don't want to take over 3 minutes to just to charge. You don't want to take over 2 minutes just to charge up a single ultimate. That's no good, you know?
Okay.
Yeah. And
Okay.
besides, all you need to do is just use your balls to charge the ultimate. You can keep your abilities. You can use your shield to bail you out. You'll be fine. You know?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else you would like to say? Maybe your friend Bjorn would like to share something.
Bjorn?
Can you hear me?
Hey Bjorn, what's up?
Hello. No, I'm just listening in. I wasn't there from the start, so it's hard to ad lib anything, I guess. But
It's okay.
it's a good listen.
Yeah. What you call it? Glad you're able to learn something from it. Anything you want to add, Deku?
So obviously I want to apply this into a scrim environment. Now I know you said to me the best way to do that will probably be get everybody's POV, bird's eye view as
Yeah.
well, analyze it from there, which we will look to do anyway.
I can see that having a bird's overview would actually probably be enough most of the time, as long as you can maintain a bird's overview like that. I will say the one thing I really liked in your VOD that will make it much more easier if I was to review your team
Mm.
is basically maintaining the entire overlay of the battlefield. Like you want to make sure you can see almost everything that's happening. Of course, it might cause you to be zoomed out a few bits, but like if you feel like there are some heroes that are just not involved in the fight, maybe you can like cut them out because they're not really important. You want to look at the more important factors like who is about to engage, who's going to disengage. You want to look at their path they retreat. You want to make sure you collect footage of those, you know?
Okay.
So like I like how you did that. It's but you probably could have zoomed in a bit more better, just so that we got to make more detail. You don't need to zoom in that much.
Okay. Now it sounds like to me, obviously, that was just one team fight, which took about I don't know 20 minutes, whatever. From there, would in terms of condensed but effective learning, would you suggest looking at a team by team fight basis, or would you want to see the whole thing?
Let's see. That's a bit difficult to pick. Honestly, each one sounds great in a different purpose. Let's just do like separate team fights. So
Okay.
like maybe we can do like 3 team fights, one where you don't have ultimates, one where you do have ultimates, and then possibly I'm actually interested in just testing this out. I'm only saying this because I want to actually experiment to see what happens, how well I can do without needing the entire VOD. So yeah. So first, I would like to test this just team fight by team fight bot analysis. So I would like to have 3 team. I would like to have 3 team fights: one with ultimates, one without ultimates, like in the beginning,
Mm.
and then the final one will be like overtime. So like last fight, like maybe just before overtime, or like kind of like on overtime, you know?
Okay. OT.
Yeah.
Start.
The
So
important thing is to make sure that you catch the setup. So like basically you want to be able to catch the enemies coming from spawn.
right.
Like either the enemies coming from spawn or your team spawn.
Okay.
You don't
Cool.
want to I don't want you to start the recording mid fight, you know?
Mm-mm. All right. Cool.
Yep. Okay.
Perfect.
Pretty much. You got anything else you want to say, or are we good?
No, I'm good, man. Thank you for the. I've got a lot of things to work on here anyway. So I think what we'll do is next opportunity we have to go as a group. I'll state what we're looking to do, looking to practice, and we'll have
Yep.
the overview from there for a particular team fight, and then working from there. Would you suggest? Because in my head I was thinking about following the idea of running this team comp specifically for a specific map which favors that kind of comp. Like for example, I know when I did Watchpoint Gibraltar for one of the VODs of Sigma, I felt a lot more useless because of the fact they had a Pharaoh and things that could just go around the shield. So I was considering if we're doing a scrim environment, just to run the meta comp on, let's say, Anubis only or Ilios only, as an example?
I would say it does sound a bit strict. Have just the only thing I can say is just stay flexible.
Okay.
Keep yourself flexible. Keep yourself open to options. If you feel like you're having like second thoughts of like, oh, maybe I can run this comp on this place, give it a try. You know, you
Right.
just like gotta be open. Gotta make sure you can learn things. Okay.
Okay. Cool.
Okay. You want to be confident, concrete. All right. Anything else, or are we good here?
I'm good, man. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome, man. Thanks for coming tonight. You too,
Nice.
Bjork. It was nice to have you here. Okay, I'll see you guys later.
Peace, dude.
Peace.